Hello, friends, and welcome to the new episode of r/Tales from Retail. Today, we have 3 crazy stories for you. So if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Let's get started. The time a lady lied to my boss to get me fired. Boss was my dad. Background. I grew up in the pet store business. My dad moved us around a lot, buying stores that were failing, then turning them around to resell. Flipping them, essentially. The last one we stayed in for many years, so I have tons of stories. Growing up in retail led to a steady string of other retail jobs as well, so I'll have plenty of stories to share. This is one of my favorites. The most common theme I see in TFR is the longing to be able to tell the crappy customers exactly what you think. This made working for my dad a great time. My dad's an amazing man. 5 minutes talking to him, and he'd have you writing him a check to purchase your own car from him. He could sell anything to anyone. He also gave 0 Fs what anyone thought of him or what they had to say. Customers threatened never to come back, and he'd clear their items from the counter and show them to the door. He was brutal, and truthfully a bit on the crazy side. So one of the big problems in the pet store business is much of your inventory is alive, and people, especially children, love teasing and poking at the animals. This is not only harmful to the animals, but also creates a liability risk. Anyone in the pet store industry will tell you that no amount of danger, do not touch signs will stand up against a lawsuit. Which brings us to our wonderful customer. We'll call her Liar Liar, or LL. Her obnoxious young child, likely 7 or 8 years old, will be called OC. I'll be me, and Dad will be Dad. So late one afternoon, LL and OC come into our store to browse, likely just kill time, or maybe buy a can of fish food. From the time they enter, LL has 0 idea where OC is and what he's doing. This kid's out of control, knocking things off the shelves, running, just a little a-hole. Meanwhile, LL is oblivious and browsing. Our store was decent size for an independent pet store, and we had the best fish room in the state, built by myself. Shameless plug. Hey, I'm still proud after all these years. So LL is off in the fish room while OC makes his way to the exotic bird section, another of our specialties. There were many very sweet and very expensive birds there, and we were quite protective of them. OC's being very loud, yelling at the birds, etc. I come by and catch him poking at a very sweet Amazon parrot that we had purchased from a family who could not keep her very recently, and she was still acclimating. The bird was sweet and talked like crazy. This was the only time I heard her scream. I took a play straight from Dad's playbook and asked OC where his parents were. He said he didn't know, so I led him up to the front counter and instructed him to stay there with an employee while I located his mother. When I found his mother, I explained to her what had happened, and that he was no longer allowed to roam our store unattended, as he was a danger to himself and our animals. She storms to the front, grabs the child, and leaves in a huff. I should mention here that the conversation with LL took place in the fish room. Directly on the other side was Dad's office, and the tops are open, not full walls. A couple hours later, LL calls and asks to speak to the owner. Call gets transferred to Dad. This is what happened. LL. I was in your store with my son, and your employee was very rude to both of us. He said terrible things about my son, swore at him, and grabbed my son by the arm and threw us both out of your store. I want him fired. I was prepared to spend $1 gajillion at your store. My dad says he was very sorry to hear that. Please give me some time to get to the bottom of it and give me a call back tomorrow. What LL didn't know was that Dad had witnessed OC's behavior, saw me escort him to the counter, and then retreated to his office where he heard our entire interaction. Next day, LL calls back for Dad. I called yesterday, and I want to know if that employee has been fired. I will call the Better Business Bureau, blah, 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 blah. Dad says, well, I was going to deal with this while you were on the phone yesterday, but I thought a day for you to come to your senses may have helped. I see that it didn't. I saw your child destroying my store and my property. I saw him terrorizing my animals. I saw the employee, my son, lead him to the counter and speak with him respectfully. I saw you ignoring your child while he destroyed my property, and further, I heard the entire exchange between my employee, son, and yourself. So I thought about firing him, but then I realized that you and your child are both a-holes, and I'd prefer you never enter my store again. Thank you for the customer feedback. F off, click. And our next story. Nope, we do not accept hair returns. A few years ago, I worked at a beauty supply store where the average Joe, Sue, Sally could walk in and purchase their off-brand hair supplies, hair dye, extensions, and acrylic supplies. We also offered a special customer card to professionals. The story I'm sharing today is a story revolving around your regular dumb Sally. You see, Sally was an acquaintance of mine. We had similar friends, and she seemed okay, very stuck up, unknowing of how the world works, but okay enough. Sally was in the market for some new extensions, and we sold some pretty decent quality ones for about $100 with a very strict no-return policy that we were required to state at the time of purchase, and it was listed on the back of every receipt, regardless of what you purchased. So Sally's looking at extensions, and I'm showing her the hair and comparing it to the hair on her head. She's in love. Buys the damn hair, matches perfectly. That weekend, I find out she decided to drunkenly dye her hair a purple-brown tone that's pretty dark, especially in contrast to her bleach blonde Barbie hair that she was growing out. Guess who wanted to return that wasted $100 set of extensions? If you guess Sally, you get half a cookie. If you guess Sally's grandma, who was not there when she made this stupid purchase, you get a whole box of cookies because somehow you can read minds. So, irate Granny shows up, and our conversation went something like this. M is me, IG is irate Granny. Q scene. IG. I'd like to get a refund on these extensions my granddaughter just bought last week. Oh, I'm sorry, but it's company policy that we don't allow returns for any type of hair. The woman that sold these to my granddaughter told me when we bought them that we could get a refund if we didn't like them, and I expect you to honor that. Looking at the receipt for the date of service, I realized the customer was effing Sally. Ma'am, I was the one that sold these to Sally and told her then that there are no refunds. I made sure she wanted to make the purchase. You were not effing there, I was. So if you don't refund me right now, I want to talk to your manager. Right away, the manager proceeded to state the same thing and pointed out the multiple places where a no refunds on hair is written on the receipt with a highlighter. Later, I ended up running into effing Sally and chewed her a new butthole as I'd received a bad review through corporate over her not freaking listening to me. I pointed out how her bee of a grandmother nicely forgot to point out how she was trying to return something that was freaking unreturnable and made it seem like I was refusing her service. I pointed out how crappy it was of her to do something like this to anyone, and I don't care if she's new to my hand-shaped state, straight out of Cali. You don't crap on people because you stupidly decided to dye your hair a dark color right after spending $100 on freaking extensions. Thankfully, she never returned to any beauty supply store that I worked at. Why would you try to return the damn things when she could just color them to match? And our last story. You're lying, and I hope your company closes for good. I work as an optician in one of the biggest optician companies in Germany. I am the deputy branch manager. Yesterday, I had an insane old man as a customer. This is how it went. Me is me, OD is old dude. My apprentice had sent over OD. He was sitting at one of our tables, his rollator and his sunglasses in his hands. Me. Good day. My name is me. How can I help you? OD. I lost my glasses for long distances, and I need new one with the eyesight of my sunglasses. Me. No problem. Do you have your eyesight in writing? No. Me. Okay. Have you ever bought glasses at our company? He mumbled something that I couldn't understand, so I assumed he didn't know. I take the tablet to check our database. What's your last name, please? He mumbled again. Sorry, could you please repeat that? I wasn't able to understand you properly because of the background noise. It wasn't really loud, but OD was rude in his tone from the beginning, and I didn't want it to escalate. So then in a really rude tone, he says, Why do you need it anyway? Me. Well, I needed to look you up in the database. You're not finding me in there. I've never bought glasses here before. Okay, then I need your sunglasses to check the eyesight off the lenses. He doesn't react at all, but lets me take the sunglasses. I can see at first sight that the glasses are not older than 2 years and that they are without powers. I go to check anyway to not upset him even more, and while I'm on the way, he shouts after me in an even ruder tone than before, I hope I'll get them back. Yes, OD really accuses me of stealing his 2-year-old sunglasses in an optician shop. So I went to check the power of the lenses, and as I thought, 0.0 dpt in both lenses. No eyesight at all. So I go back and tell him, these are not eyesight sunglasses. At that point, it started to get ridiculous. You're lying. You just want to cover up your incompetence. These sunglasses were prescribed by a doctor. You're accusing the doctor of lying? Your company is crap anyway, and I'll leave and never come back. I said nothing. Just stopped, went to the door, opened it, and while I was thinking, good, this way I don't have to kick him out. On his way out, he stopped at the table next to us and complained about something I couldn't understand. Then he went on his way. In the moment he got to the door, he turned to me for one last time. I hope your whole company has to close for good. You're the worst. Me. Have a nice day. My next customer was the one at the table next to us, and we had a little joke about OD. Thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one soon.